Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today, I have Todd Mikelonis, Senior Director of Property Management at Charlesgate, and we are talking about access control. Todd, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, what we want to do is we're going to talk about access control because these issues face property management companies across the country. And before we kind of get into that piece of it, I'd like to understand a bit about your company and your product mix so that we can understand how you all use access control specifically.
Yes, thanks, Brent. I am from Boston, Massachusetts, and we manage roughly 3,000 doors in the eastern Massachusetts area, ranging in properties from small multifamilies to large high-rise 150 plus unit buildings. Our sweet spot is roughly 20 to 75 unit buildings where we don't have a site staff to oversee and control access entry. So finding ways to manage access control is something that's very important to our efficiency and security for management.
That's great. Now, before we talk about what you're doing in today's terms on access control, can you kind of rewind the clock for me and tell me a bit about what you've done historically in terms of this challenge and how you've approached it?
Yes, well, our portfolio is a mixture of properties that are over 100 years old to brand new construction. So we have a variety of access control challenges depending on the property and the size of the property and the constraints. Historically, we were restricted to key access. The majority of our portfolio is in downtown Boston, so getting around even a few miles can take upwards of an hour during rush hour. So it's really important for us to have found ways to make it easier for our maintenance people and our vendors to access properties. So historically, they'd have to come to our office, get a key. There may or may not be parking, and then go to the property. That often has had a lot of challenges for our team. So, and it costs the owners more money. So we've been often looking for ways to make it easier to access the properties. And often we would do like a surface mount lockbox, for example, but that also would become a challenge with staff turnover and dealing with vendors who you may not want to have permanent access to the property.
Yeah, because once you give the code to them once, then it's hard to go back and change the code all the time on those lockboxes, right?
Correct. The logistics of it and making sure our internal notes are all updated every time you were to change the code. Particularly, if there was an emergency that night and you just changed it that day and our staff doesn't have the info, that would have been very problematic. So it didn't really make sense, and it wasn't a great way to be able to operate. So having the other alternative was having them come to the office before we were able to integrate some of these more recent technology changes.
So let's talk about that. So you have tried different technologies out, and can you tell me some of the technologies you implemented and how do you use those technologies for access control right now?
Yeah, the one we've been using most recently, and a lot of our developers have been putting them in new construction, as well as owners have been retrofitting them into some of our older properties, is a system called ButterflyMX. And what that does is it allows us to control access remotely, grant access to the property for vendors, one time only, and then also allow remote access for our staff. We're also able to easily toggle access on and off for staffing changes or for vendors or for tenants, which really makes it a lot easier for us than having to go to the property, perhaps access a computer on site. It's really been a huge game changer for us.
You had touched upon maintenance a second ago. Can you describe the difference in the process that maintenance has now versus before?
Yeah, before our maintenance would come to our office, which is located in downtown Boston, right in the city, and we don't have a lot of parking available to us. And so they'd have to come, find a spot, go up to the office, grab the keys, and then go to the property, which may be, just a few miles away. But again, in our city, it, can take upwards of a half hour, 45 minutes to get to that property. So now they're able to go directly to the properties that they're working at, which saves both our firm time and money. It's actually a better work experience for our maintenance staff who are able to be more efficient with their job, and it's more self-fulfilling for them. And also it helps save our clients money by having less billable time.
It's interesting because even for garden style communities, one of the big, things we talk about is reducing those trips back and forth to the shop. I can't imagine having to go back just for keys for a couple miles away drive. That's just, that could be a huge time waste. I can't imagine. Let's kind of shift gears into package management. I know package management is a growing challenge for properties. Can you tell me about that aspect and package theft and how has the access control played a role in that?
Yeah, package theft has been, I think, for all management firms around the country, a large issue. It's from what I understand, over $1 billion cottage industry, and something that a lot of buildings and owners, when they're designing new properties now, or kind of readjusting and retrofitting their buildings for the amount of deliveries that people are receiving on site, it's a challenge that we're all trying to figure out for each specific location. Butterfly has been really helpful for us because this type of technology allows residents to enter in one-time only access so that the delivery companies can get into the property. One of our big challenges is that we have several different delivery providers that might be delivering whatever package you're ordering online from these large Amazon type companies. So they're not sure whether it's going to come FedEx, UPS, or just a local Amazon driver. So it's really important that we're able to provide access to more than just the bigger, larger national kind of delivery companies. And getting it inside the door into a secure package room has been very important for us. And that's where Butterfly allows for delivery companies to either buzz the tenant, do a video access to them, which it records on their smartphone. And it also allows for the one-time PIN code as well. Additionally, we have inside the secure package rooms in some of our more urban properties where there's concern for package theft from within the building, Butterfly also has restricted keypad controls to the actual package room. So if there are issues, you can track who is in and out of that room in addition to security camera footage.
When we were talking earlier, you had mentioned that not only could you have an issue with package theft previously, but also the time to investigate package theft appeared to be a really big problem in itself. That took up a lot of time from the management team. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Our tenants, we have video cameras at most of our more newly constructed properties and most of our larger properties at this point. And when tenants have a package stolen, we'll make suggestions to file a claim with the company that shipped the package, investigate it on that end. But they do often lean on the property manager to help with the investigation, review footage, see who might have taken the package. And oftentimes it's very time consuming in addition to all of the other responsibilities of a property manager. So trying to reduce that really enables a property manager to do their job well, and also, provide a safe delivery package option for residents, which is part of the customer service that we're trying to provide as a property management company and for our property owners.
So I would imagine that implementing access control for a single property would be somewhat straightforward. But tell me, what is it like to have what's the impact of automating access control, at scale over an entire portfolio or a significant portion of that portfolio?
Yeah, we have roughly, we manage all different property sizes, but I would say well over 100 different sites. Not all of them have access control like this. Some of them are smaller brownstones that they're not able to be set up like this. But we have many properties that do have this. And what's really nice about it is that I'm able to use the app and I have access to all of our properties that I need access to. Being the senior director, I can go in and access probably 20 to 30 of our different properties. If I happen to be in the area and I want to do a site walk, I can buzz myself into the building, and my property managers have that same ability as well. So really it's all in one place. It makes it a lot easier, particularly when you're trying to keep track of things. And it just allows us to do a much better job. And it's, like I said, all in one place. That's really critical for us when you're, trying to manage 3,000 doors spread across hundreds of different properties.
So PropTech has become like the big thing in multifamily. And I'm curious, how do your residents and your prospects perceive, when you move from a fob system or something like that to a more sophisticated access control system like ButterflyMX, what's their perception of it within the residents and the prospects group?
I think what's really important and what's nice about Butterfly in particular are the quality signals. So from a leasing standpoint, when you walk up to the front door and you see the tech at the front door, it really resonates with the renters that they're getting a more modern, updated property, something that's forward thinking, and they're also worrying about package theft. More than likely, they've rented before in the area, have had experiences with it, or are concerned about it. So I think safety and security, not only for themselves, but for, packages and things that they're having delivered is really important. So it sends a quality signal. And then it also, it helps the leasing agents and the leasing staff with the process and helping with showings, as well as show them that it's a quality building. So it really does send that first impression sign that it's a quality property.
That's great. So on this series, what we try to do is we try to assess a challenge that a lot of property management companies are facing, how different companies are approaching that challenge, and then finally talk about tangible results. Everybody wants to know ultimately, how is it going to affect my bottom line? And I know you've mentioned quite a few elements that impact operations, impact that sort of thing. So how do you translate that to the bottom line and understand like the ultimate value in getting a more sophisticated approach in access control?
Well, what I can speak to is when we do not have an efficient access control or an antiquated system, and it can really translate to the bottom line. We had a 150-unit building built in the 1950s in Beacon Hill in downtown Boston that had an antiquated fob system that we were constantly repairing and trying to limp along until we were able to retrofit the Butterfly access system into the property. And our maintenance in terms of the upkeep of the old system obviously just went away there. As well as, we put in a piece of much more functional tech into the building. Across our general portfolio, we've seen a dramatic increase in the efficiency of our maintenance staff as they're able to go directly to the property. So more importantly, for our margin on our maintenance people, for our ability to have billable time, as well as for the maintenance people and their efficiency to be able to go back and forth to various properties throughout the day and have less billable time for our clients.
That's great. Thank you so much, Todd, for sharing your story on access control. I know that a lot of companies are going through the same exact decision-making process that you went through. So I'm sure that it'll be a huge help to hear what you all did and your results and your stories. So Todd, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, we're going to have a lot more of these chats coming up. So keep a lookout for our next challenges that we are approaching in multifamily. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.